What's up guys, my name is Brie Ogletree, and in this video I'm going to be talking about how to create a caloric deficit without counting calories. Yes, it can be done. To my channel, welcome. My name is Brie Ogletree. I am an online fitness coach for women, teaching women how to use strength training in order to build their curves and fall in love with their bodies. So this video is all about how to create a caloric deficit without counting calories and how we go about doing that. Let me just start with saying who this video is for. This video is going to be relevant to anyone with a weight loss or a fat loss goal. So if that's not currently your goal right now, then by all means, please skip this video. That's who I'm speaking to right now. So if you have a weight loss goal or a fat loss goal, you might be wondering, how the heck are we going to create a caloric deficit if we don't know if we're in a caloric deficit because we're not counting calories? So there's other approaches to this. Counting calories is just one way to do it. There are a ton of different ways to do it, and we're going to go over one today that I think is really effective, that is very time efficient, and that also gets you sustainable results in terms of your weight loss and your fat loss. Just a little backstory behind me before we get started. So I have counted calories in the past. I've counted calories, I've counted macronutrient, and I've found that counting calories can be very time consuming, especially if you're tracking your calories. I'm not saying that there's no value in doing it. It definitely can help you bring some awareness to how much you're eating on a daily basis and where you need to make adjustments. I was finding with counting calories that it was very frustrating, especially when it came to time to eat and just wanting to eat, but having to calculate how many calories I was eating or how many macros I was eating in that certain meal. I was really looking for a solution to streamline the process, so I knew that I was still getting nutrients that I needed. It was taking less time to do so. I was getting extremely frustrated with getting to mealtime and then having to wait to eat because I was trying to do a calculation with how much I was eating and whether it was the right amount or not, especially with macronutrients and all that. So this is definitely a more simplified way to go about creating a caloric deficit. If you have the time to count calories and macros and all that and make adjustments and figure that out, that's totally cool. Again, this video may not be for you, but if you are just looking to find a simpler way to get the results that you want with weight loss or fat loss, definitely stick around and give this method a shot for sure. It's simple to use and it's really easy to implement too. You don't need any special tools, you don't need to do math, you can enjoy your meal right away. It's worked really well for me, and it's what I continue to go back to even after, if I do decide to experiment with macronutrients, which I do here and there. I always go back to this method because I find it just keeps everything so simple and it still keeps me on track. So since we're not going to be counting calories for this method, we do have to have a way to measure progress. Especially if you have a weight loss goal or a fat loss goal, we need to know where you're starting from and where you're trying to get to, and then how you're progressing along the way. There's a couple ways that you can do this. The easiest way is if you have a scale, you can weigh yourself. A more, less accessible way for people would be to measure body fat. And there's a whole different bunch of ways that you can measure your body fat percentage, which I'll go over in a second. If you are using a scale, what I would recommend is taking 2 measurements per week, one at the beginning of the week and one at the end of the week. So you'll have 2 data points basically week to week, and you can kind of track what your progress is from week to week, as well as from the beginning of the week to the end of the week. Best practices for measuring your weight is to measure it in the morning, right after you use the bathroom, without any clothes on. So naked, completely naked. That's gonna be the most ideal situation for you to take your weight. Make sure that it's the same. You do the same thing at the beginning of the week, the same thing at the end of the week to measure your weight. Now, if you don't have a scale at home, I understand. If you go to the gym regularly and they have a scale there, you can use that. If you are taking your weight at another time other than in the morning, right when you wake up, I do recommend making sure you take it at the same time and then keeping all the conditions the same. So if you're at the gym, you can't really strip down to nakedness, or you're not comfortable stripping down to nakedness in the locker room, try either just wearing the same outfit or maybe just doing it in your underwear and sports bra, something like that. Try to keep the conditions the same. I do recommend 2 data points each week, just so that you know kind of what your progress is each week, like which direction you're headed towards, whether that's weight loss or if you're staying the same or if you're putting on weight. So it just kind of gives us a little more data in terms of where you're headed. The second method that you can use is body fat percentage, and there's a few different ways that you can take your body fat percentage. The most accessible way probably is to use a tape measure, which I have somewhere over here. Okay, I'm back. So the easiest way for women to get a body fat reading is to do circumference measurements with like a loose, flimsy measuring tape just like this. You're gonna do your neck, your waist, and your hips. What I would do is take 2 to 3 measurements just to make sure that you're getting an average. So I would take 2 to 3, take the average of that measurement, and then just use that average. So you take your neck, maybe do it 3 times through, take that average, do your waist, do that 3 times through, get the average, and then your hips 3 times through, get the average. And then you could just Google body fat percentage calculation. This is the way we do it in the Army. You can even type in Army female body fat percentage calculator or something like that, and it'll come up and it'll calculate for you your body fat percentage. Now, is this the most accurate tool to use? Probably not. There's going to be probably some margin of error with your body fat percentage, but at least you have a baseline, and as long as you take your measurement the same, so you use the same tool each time, it's going to give you a reading on which direction you're going. With the body fat, I would recommend just doing 1 measurement a week, because you're going to be seeing very subtle changes from week to week. You probably wouldn't see much of a difference if you take 2 measurements in a week. You can, but I think once a week is definitely enough to do body fat percentage. If you do belong to a gym, they may have other tools available to you to get a body fat percentage reading. There's handheld devices that use bioelectrical impedance, and basically all that does is send a weak signal through your body, weak electrical signal through your body, and it just measures the amount of body fat in your body. Like I said with the tape measure, it might not be the most accurate reading, but as long as you take your measurement the same way each time, it'll give you an indicator in which direction you're moving towards, whether you're increasing body fat or decreasing body fat. More expensive devices would be something like an in-body reading. This is also bioelectrical impedance, but it's a device that you stand on, you hold these metal handles, and it again sends a signal through your body. That one's a little bit more in depth. It'll give you a more specific reading on different parts of your body, like how much body fat you're holding in your torso or your limbs, how much muscle mass you have in each limb. These machines are a bit more expensive to have, so not every gym is going to have it, but if your gym does offer it, that's definitely a great tool to use as well. Again, if you are doing body fat, make sure whatever method you choose, you stick to that method the entire way through, just to keep reliability and validity high. Once we figured out a way to measure our progress from week to week, the next thing would be to have a method of portion control. With weight loss, you need to be in a caloric deficit in order to see weight loss or fat loss, and we do need a way to kind of check ourselves and make sure that we're not overeating or eating too much to create that deficit. The method of portion control I'm going to go over today is going to be using hand measurements, using the dimensions of your hand to determine how much food you should be eating at each meal. Your quality proteins, your quality carbohydrates, your quality fats, that can all be determined by the size and shape of your hand. I love this method because it's really easy to use. Your hands go with you everywhere, so you can take it wherever you go, wherever you choose to eat, to kind of gauge how much food you're eating. Another great thing about this method is that your hands are proportionate to your body. So the measurements that you're going to be taking are pretty much food sizes that are proportionate to your body, which I think is really cool too. I'm going to be releasing a guide soon on how to do portion control with your hand measurements, what that looks like, and all of that. So if you're interested in that, that list is linked below. Just sign up for that list and you'll get that as soon as it's released. And if you're watching this after it's released, make sure that I update the link below so that you can just sign up and get the guide. A great place for women to start is to have one serving size or one hand portion size of each food group. So for your portion sizes, one protein serving is going to be the diameter and the thickness of your palm. For your quality carbohydrates, that's going to be 1 cupped handful of your palm. So just imagine like rice or pasta or something like that in there. For green leafy vegetables, that's going to be 1 fist size. For quality fats, that's going to be 1 thumb size. So it is recommended to start with 1 serving of each of these quality food groups in your meals and gauging from there how you feel. And that's what we're going to go over next. Your hunger cues, listening to your body and all of that, and using that in conjunction with your portion control to create that caloric deficit. A big portion of this method is listening and tuning into your body. It can be a very scary thing to do. We do spend a lot of time not listening to our bodies, just kind of like going through our day and not really tuning into how we're feeling, just kind of, going with the motions. This style of eating definitely requires you to tune into how you're feeling, what your hunger cues are like, what your fullness cues are like, and it's going to take some practice for sure, but it's something that you can definitely learn and you can master as you continue to do it. That would definitely be the next step in the process. Listening to your body, listening to when you're actually hungry, and then listening to when you are satisfied with your meal. So when you are eating, it is suggested to just eat until you're satisfied or about 80% full. And what that feels like is the hunger feelings that you get before you eat, those are definitely subsided, and you may feel like you could probably eat a little bit more, but at that point you should stop eating. Take like 5 minutes to really assess whether or not you're still hungry. It does take your brain about 15 to 20 minutes to catch up with your stomach and figure out whether or not you're actually hungry or you're full. So just give yourself that time to figure out whether or not you have eaten the right amount and you're fully satisfied, or if you need to eat a little bit more. Some other really helpful tips when actually sitting down to eat your meals is to eat undistracted and to take about 15 to 20 minutes to eat your meals. Taking that amount of time, again, is just going to allow your brain to catch up with your stomach and figure out whether or not you need more food or not, and deter you from overeating. And then eating undistracted is, again, going to force you to focus on chewing your food maybe a little bit slower, enjoying your meal, and potentially helping you eat a little bit less at your meal. Like I said, this method is not something that you learn overnight. It's definitely something that you learn over time and you get better at listening to your body and the amount of food that you actually need. Definitely give it a shot, maybe over a month, and really try to figure out if this is the right approach for you. I know for me, it's definitely helped free me up in terms of like being tied to a number and being tied to, hitting my macros, and still has kept me feeling strong and fit and good energy-wise without taking all of the time that goes into counting calories, macros, all that stuff. The last piece of this is going to be food selection. With weight loss, fat loss, it is really important to get a high volume, high protein diet that's going to keep you satisfied longer. Sticking to a whole unprocessed diet is just going to help you feel more satiated longer. It's probably going to help reduce cravings, and it's just going to make you feel better. So sticking to lean meats for high quality protein or dairy products for high quality protein, fruits, vegetables, and quality carbohydrates like rice, quinoa, potatoes, and then quality fats like olive oils, nuts, seeds, avocado. It's gonna give you more nutritional value, and it's just gonna make you feel better overall. A common question that I get about being in a caloric deficit is whether or not you can have sweets and foods that are probably less on the nutritional scale but higher on the yummy scale. You can still enjoy like your ice cream, your cookies, all that stuff, as long as you're still maintaining a caloric deficit. And with with this method, the way we're tracking that is either your weight loss or your body fat percentage week to week. If you're noticing that your weight or your body fat percentage is staying the same week to week and you're including these foods, I would maybe just try to see if there's anywhere you can make an adjustment. And that would be the first place I would look. What types of snack foods and dessert type foods and how much of that you're eating and whether or not you can scale that back. And then refocusing on those whole unprocessed foods. So just to recap this video, there is another method for creating a caloric deficit without counting calories or macros. You're going to measure your body fat or your weight week to week. If you're doing your weight, it's going to be 2 measurements per week. If you're doing your body fat percentage, 1 measurement per week, and just tracking the trends from week to week, whether it's going up, whether it's going down, and that's going to help you determine on whether or not you need to make adjustments. The second piece is going to be using your hand measurements in order to help you kind of create portion control, and in conjunction with that, listening to what your body's telling you, whether or not you're actually full, taking the time to sit down and enjoy your meal and maybe slow down how long you're eating, just so that your brain can catch up to your stomach and you can eat the correct amount without overeating to, again, create that deficit. And then the last piece is food selection, just trying to maintain a mostly whole, unprocessed diet that's going to help make you feel satiated while you're in a caloric deficit. Still enjoying foods that you like, whether they're processed or not, but just paying attention to what your progress is telling you and making adjustments accordingly. That's going to be all for this video. I hope you found it helpful. If you did, please give it a like and definitely subscribe for more. If you have a question about this video, or if you want to see a different topic, you have a question about a different topic, definitely leave it in the comments below. I will get back to you as soon as possible, and I will definitely create a video around whatever question you have. So again, like, subscribe, comment, and I will see you guys in the next one. All right, bye.